So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true. Well, nothing like leaving it to the last minute. Hello, good evening, welcome. It's 12:02.
We missed the I missed the favorite part.
Yeah. It's
I just love when they say
it's weird for that to come up when you hear your own voice.
Yeah, I know.
John's intro, it really gets me because it's so true, and it's so disheartening. Except where you just got to put your big girl panties on and keep going. But
we were trying to put that. Yeah, we didn't know how to put together an intro, and we had gone on a show previously, and that clip is from that, and Elle, she had the great voice, and she started it off, and John put the music together, and I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure in the beginning. I was like, yeah, I guess it's okay or whatever. And now, now when I hear it, it's like, it sounds, I really like the intro, but
me
maybe
too.
Maybe for our 1-year anniversary, we can, tweak it a little bit. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
That's coming up. Well, we got to get Catherine in there somewhere.
I mean, it's such a profound statement. It's like, well, John, what's been the hardest thing? Well, let's see. Everything I've ever been taught since,
Oh, it's all bullshit, by the way. Yeah.
I guess that was kind of difficult.
It's I missed you guys. I apologize for not. I was just
man.
I was running the farm for about a week by myself, and it just beat me into the ground. And my wonderful wife returned yesterday, and we had a nice Valentine's Day, and I'm returning to human being status, which is kind of nice and
awesome.
A lot of good things going on. A lot of good things.
Yeah, we survived. Speaking of bullshit, I wanted to lead off the show tonight because I'm aside from, my introduction to I guess kind of where I'm at. For me, it all started with 9/11. God, it's real close. I think it's almost 9 years. It's like 9 years in March. And I don't know if I ever told you, basically the way that I got into 9/11 quote unquote conspiracy is, so it's, probably like March of 2009. And I really, it seems crazy that, I hadn't really been on YouTube, and I'm like, I'm starting to check out this YouTube. You can watch videos and stuff. But
the YouTube.
Yeah.
The YouTube.
I don't know.
I got on the Facebook and then the Twitter.
Yeah, I was probably a little behind the curve. So, I'm sure it was. I don't know when YouTube got big, but I really wasn't on it too much until 2009. Anyway, I was in China during on September 11th, 2001. So
wow.
when I got on, with that,
I said, "Wow."
Oh yeah. So I missed out on like a lot of like television, and I was always curious like what it was. I missed out on a lot of things, is what it was like here, because I didn't get back until mid-December. And I was just curious, like, when Letterman came back or Jon Stewart came back, what the shows were like. So that's basically what I was doing on YouTube. And I was, searching 9/11, maybe whatever. And then, I get my video, and then, to the right, I start seeing this conspiracy stuff. And anyway, and I was like, that I was an accidental, conspiracy theorist.
Truther?
Yeah. I mean, I never, because I didn't go looking for it. It went looking for me, and I was like, and I started watching videos, and I was like, I didn't know, so many things were coming back at me that I had no idea.
And I know, well, and I was kind of a little bit into this beforehand, but that 9/11 was a triggering event, and I was working for the fire department, and I just, when those buildings came down, I said, nope, and that was it, in a nutshell.
But 9/11 for me led me, it was literally, the proverbial rabbit hole that, from one thing to the next.
Yeah, me too.
Whether it was Oklahoma City. So anyway, my point being that today, particularly when there's a shooting, whether it be a school shooting, any type of shooting, I'm not going to take the mainstream,
narrative
and the single shooter, whatever. So I immediately go to, I didn't get a chance last night, but I go on and I search, whatever the event is, whether it was Manchester, which, I mean, that just evaporated, but, and I search hoax. So today I went on YouTube and I searched Parkland, Florida shooting hoax, just to see what, the smart people have come up with, and what I consider smart people. And anyway, there was a video, the first video I watched of a supposed high school student. Her name, Alexa Miednik, and she was being interviewed by a sports reporter. A sports reporter from Houston was in Florida covering the Astros spring training game, and he left spring training when he heard about the shooting, went up, became like a regular reporter, finds this Alexa Miednik, who claimed to be a high school student at the high school, and she was coming out of the bathroom and encountered the gunman, and she knew him. She said she knew him since middle school. Talked with him a little bit, and then she heard shooting. She heard gunshots in another part of the school, so there was definitely another shooter, and that was basically the interview. And she didn't seem upset or hysterical or anything. Very calm, a lot of smiling actually.
Mm-hmm.
And, so
yeah, looked a little too perfect too, right, Catherine?
Yeah,
right. Yes, she did.
Yeah, she looked a little old to be, high school student. Who knows? But the people started like looking around, and and started poking around her Facebook and all kinds of stuff. And Facebook says she should have been like 22 or 23. Anyway, it's such a strange, bizarre thing. We don't even know she's a high school student. We don't know if she was making this up. We don't know. And it's still just out there. Anyway, the original video that was put on YouTube has now been taken down. But the reporter from the Houston, I have to get his. Now I have to go get his. His name is Matt Muesli. He's at KHO. I guess that's K Houston Sports Matt. KHOU Sports MATT. And his video's up there,
He's probably working in the mailroom now.
Well,
he's probably demoted him.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. But he's got
he took his YouTube
video
down.
Twitter. The video on Twitter alone has 1.2 million views, and we were talking about it earlier. There were other interviews where they said they heard multiple shots from across the building. They believe that there was more than one shooter, and once again we were just seeing a lot of inconsistencies, and of course the mainstream media is just jamming Nicholas Cruz down our throats without and this is just sitting out there. And, of course, if you bring it up, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, take your tinfoil hat off, blah, 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 blah. But anyway.
There's a couple of things that I saw right off the bat that are weird. And it seems like all of these, the last 10 of these, and there's one here too, that there's a link to the FBI. Apparently that some unrelated person in Mississippi reported to the FBI in Mississippi that this guy had made a post on YouTube about a school shooting, and they were addressing that in the news conference today, and the special agent in charge said there was no way we could corroborate that, or no way we could locate. There's no way they could locate that person. Bullshit. That's not true, because any post you make online anywhere, you can be located, and so that was strange.
That happens all the time. I just hate to tell them that.
Yeah, there was a report. There was a report that there was some sort of prior notification. Somebody called the school or something, or the security or the cops or something, and told them that this guy was headed towards the school, and he was armed. So that sounds very strange. And and then Debbie Wasserman Schultz at the news conference. I mean,
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And they're so and kept trying to shuffle to get into the shot, because she's about 3 foot tall. And the FBI guy is probably 6'6", and she kept moving around him so she could get in the shot. And it was so. And as we know, we just had Juliet on here, how corrupt Broward County is. That particular sheriff, Wasserman Schultz, and they're so concerned about the welfare. And the school superintendent, who is allowing child rape to go on in those schools, and he was there. And then, so I guess there was more than a few things I found it odd about this. But let me just finish up here. But so there was all that, and then they're saying how much they care about, the welfare of the people of Broward County and the kids in the schools. And it just was, it rang very, very hollow. And just the people, but they're not really, they don't care about attorneys that are getting murdered a dime a dozen in Broward County. It just, nothing seemed very right. So we'll see.
Dangerous to live in Broward County.
I wouldn't want to live there.
Mm-mm.
Why do you think I moved to Virginia? And we were 2 counties north. So, It's a shame what's happened to Florida, but it's not what, I guess no place is what it used to be, but still.
This is true. So, what are we going to talk about now? Do you want me to talk about Judge Kelly?
Yes, that was very interesting.
Because there's a couple of other things that I didn't get to share with you about Judge Kelly. So it's Judge Mark Kelly, Mark M-A-R-C, Kelly, regular, out of Orange County, California. He cut 15 years off of a child rapist sentence. He took 25 years to 10 years for a sodomy of a 3-year-old. So, and when I was reading this article, Rojano, R-O-J-A-N-O, is the convicted rapist. He's already been convicted. His defense was, she asked me to do it. She asked me to. That's what his defense was, and then the judge cuts him slack like that. Okay, so I go on and let me see. So the judge, I'm reading all about the whole case and everything, and I get at the bottom, and it says that the family had written letters to the judge to ask for leniency for the person who raped a 3-year-old child, even the mother of the 3-year-old child, because the mother was the stepmother of the rapist. He's 20 years old, and then her daughter is 3. And so they were asking, for a lenient sentence. But the judge, regardless, did not have the right to do that.
Hold on, say that one more.
Who's asking for a lenient sentence?
Wait. Slow down for 1 second.
Yeah. I want to hear that again.
The mother, who was the woman?
The mother of the 3-year-old child. Everyone in the family wrote letters asking the judge for a lenient sentence for the rapist because he was their family. Jesus. He was the stepson or stepbrother of the 3-year-old little girl. He
was the stepbrother.
He sodomized her.
I just didn't. No, I was just trying to get the.
In what reality? I don't care if the fucking Mormon Tabernacle Choir wrote a letter, on this guy's behalf. In what reality is that type of rape on a 3-year-old excusable? I don't care, who asked for it. The Queen of England, I mean, really? 15 years off a sentence for,
Howard,
here's
if you
the
have
thing. I'm reading the article. Under Jessica's law, approved by California voters in 2006, the crime carried a mandatory sentence of 25 years to life.
Right.
But Kelly determined that the punishment in the case was cruel and unusual under the federal Constitution and reduced the sentence to 10 years.
Horse shit.
Something. There's a law in place. But
because she's a 3-year-old, that's the one.
Yeah, that's a life sentence in Florida. I know that, and there's no. I don't think the judges have any discretion.
Well, what I was going to say about the mother writing the letter to the judge asking for leniency, her daughter's bottom was torn by him. Oh. So he was that
and this
violent
guy.
with
This
her.
guy is still a judge.
He is still a judge. He did. Okay, so this is what happened. The Orange County Board of Supervisors wrote, they wholly repudiate the suggestion in Judge Kelly's ruling that the defendant's conduct was not violent or in a callous disregard for the well-being of the victim, because he said that. If you read what Judge Kelly said, you will, just rock it out of here. I'm not kidding you.
I think we need to light this asshole up, and any way we can. I mean, that is just
right, because there
incredible.
is a petition trying to have a special election to get him off. But so anyway, the Board of Directors of Orange County went on to write, they rebuke and denunciate Judge M. Mark Kelly's decision to impose a sentence that illegally fails to comply with the mandate of state laws and could in the very near future expose the children of Orange County to the defendant's sexual pedophilic appetites. No confidence in Judge Kelly, they wrote, or his willingness to faithfully and fairly administer the laws of the state of California in the public's interest, and demands Kelly's immediate resignation. So good on Orange County Board of Supervisors.
But that
the DA, the Orange County DA in this case, has filed an appeal of that sentence, and the Board of Supervisors also voted to support the Orange County DA in that effort.
Well, I'm gonna look at it from this angle, that this judge with the actual law against him, and then everyone coming out against him. I mean, taking this stand. The one word question that comes to my mind is why? Why? What is going on
Case
here?
law. case law.
No.
Case law.
Case law. You know what it sounds like to me. It sounds like maybe our good judge there is something like the Deputy Attorney General of California that hasn't been proven that he's an offender, a rapist yet, but he sure was in possession of child rape images and attempting to lure minors online. We know that. So, and we know California's a sewer, just like every place else. But that would be, maybe I have a suspicious mind. But yeah.
I don't think Judge Kelly came up with this decision all by his lonesome. There
in this atmosphere,
he's probably close to retiring, and they probably, the whole cabal people, whoever they are, probably put him out there. So in the future, whenever they have somebody else that they need to get a reduced sentence for, they can go back to this case and say, well, look at what Judge Kelly ruled in this, and it was
they've got. I guarantee you, they've got something on this asshole. I guarantee that, in some form. We may never know what it is, but
well, in a previous case, Judge Kelly was in hot water for. Okay, let me see. He ruled refusing to send a man to prison for trying to molest a little girl in an undercover sting. Oh. Judge Kelly felt the defendant's status as a California Highway Patrol lieutenant ought to count for something.
Yeah, the sentence should be twice as much as
it absolutely should be. It absolutely should be.
This guy's dirty. I mean, he is absolutely dirty. So yeah, we're gonna look into the judge and see what we can find out.
Judge
I am
M. Mark Kelly out of Orange County, California. Give him a call.
But the appeals court. Well, we can give him a call. We can call his office. But I mean, the appeals court a couple weeks ago overturned it, and the sentence will be much longer. They didn't say exactly how much longer.
Oh, they did overturn it already?
Yes.
Wow, that's
awesome.
Quick. That's great.
Yeah, his that's why this is from the Orange County Register. Yeah, he ruled. Yeah, he sparked national outcry in April of 2015 when he shaved it. But in appeals court on Tuesday, just recently,
he just shone a flashlight on his ass, that.
Yeah, but why would you put yourself out there like that? Like, why would you for someone that sodomized a 3-year-old child, say that and go against the law? It just seems bizarre. Like, I mean, it's career suicide. I mean, did he think that people
it is career suicide?
Yeah. So what,
I guess there's something else. I'm saying
there's something else. To me, there's something else going on here, and I don't know what that something else is, but,
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah.
Well,
yes, we do.
Right.
Oh,
right.
And
yeah.
And a pattern.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. All right. She'll get over it.
A pattern of protecting.
He said that. He said that from the bench.
Why doesn't if he wants to help why are they always pedophiles? Highway Patrol pedophile, 3-year-old rapist, he's got to weigh in on these cases. And what about, there's no other, somebody needs to research.
That's a crazy story. That is a crazy story. I mean, I just can't believe it. I mean, like, no matter what kind of pressure, but I'm like, listen, if I'm gonna like reduce this guy's sentence, and go like,
in my opinion, it's the same thing.
I wouldn't even be able to go to the movies. I won't be able to go like.
Yeah, he better not. He better not.
Well, they must have had something on him.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's the same thing that John Grisham did. By John Grisham giving his story about his college buddy going to prison for accidentally accessing some like teen type porn when he was drunk, and he ended up in prison for a long time. and that, they needed to empty prison. So there's probably a lot of white guys like him in prison. You know what I'm talking about when he said that.
Yeah, I do remember
and
that.
I fully believe that the people who are trying to, change the age of consent, change it so where pedophilia is more acceptable, I fully believe that they, John Grisham did that interview and said that on purpose to see what the public response would be.
Yeah, well, and look what we're seeing. I mean, look, stand back and look at the big picture. There are various moving parts, but as a whole, everything that we talk about, every institution that we have, our churches, our governmental institutions, our law enforcement institutions, in some way or another, are pieces of a massive conspiracy to traffic children. That's the only conclusion anybody that's not brain dead can come to, especially after you've researched all these individual cases. These are not coincidences. This Orange County judge just didn't wake up one morning and say, "Oh yeah, I think I'll give this guy a break." No way.
Right.
And we're going to hear
some 20-year-old Hispanic guy, who said she wanted me to do it. She asked me to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that makes you even more fucked up. So, whatever, Jesus. But yeah. And next week, I'm really excited. We'll just talk about that a little bit. The guests that we're going to have on, the two guests that we're going to have on, have inside information to how another part of the machinery of child rape works. And it's just going to, we researched this. We know it happens. We know that wholesale, they're kidnapping, raping, murdering our children. We know that. But then you talk to somebody who has been directly involved in that, and it's just,
I wish that I could get my bank president to come on for you, but she won't. And her father, he still operates in LA, and he sells children in cages. She was abused horribly when she grew up, and she saw kids in cages.
And I'll be damned. The guests we're going to have on that has worked with these children, they tell the same stories. Another big coincidence, right?
Children in cages, right?
Yeah,
right.
Howie, talk about the shows next week, because I'm
yeah, it's a person that I've known for quite a while. Sort of met by happenstance on Twitter and taken off Twitter, and I had she was telling me, basically giving me like explaining how things work. I'm not going to go into how she knows, but it was so if we're going back maybe about September, October of last year. So I was months into it, but now I'm actually hearing like an actual thing. Like you can read story, like we understand the trafficking, but how do I know how this whole thing works? Well, this is not an eyewitness to it, but someone who has been around children who have actually been trafficked. So even though it's not her, first-hand account, it's a second-hand account, but it's basically retelling the story of what children
from
have
the mouth
told
of
her.
babes. Yeah, from the mouth of babes.
Exactly.
Well,
so
and it should be said that
the mouths of babes,
that they need protection, and so there has to be generalities made so where they are not exposed to what their location is and so on.
Yeah.
So
but the point being is that we will hear with specifics of how an actual pedophile ring operates, and
or how this one does anyway.
Techniques, if you will, that are used on the children. Basically, we've seen some of this stuff. I guess from the Franklin case.
The finders.
Right. Yeah. But we're gonna have somebody on that is going to give like actual eyewitness account, and I think it's going to be very, very, very powerful.
And an investigator, a private investigator that has, from what I understand, 80 cases that are open, and that's working with the FBI, and the things are changing. The law enforcement, we saw, I think last week, the task force that swooped down. What was that case? Help me out, Howie. The case we talked about last week, where the task force, the Homeland Security Task Force, was just like boom, right down on the case. It was on the West Coast, I believe, and I can't even remember the details.
Right, I remember you telling.
Yeah. There's so many of these cases, but the atmosphere is changing. The good guys in law enforcement are I think being able to stand up and be counted, and the whole atmosphere in the country has changed. The trafficking. I'll take a little, and here's one of the reasons. This isn't the be all and end all, but I was really excited. I got an email from Rachel Sturz, and she's the writer that had that tremendous expose on USA Swimming, and
Outside Online, right?
Yeah, Outside Online, and she was talking about a bill that Trump just signed into law, and it's called, and the link for this, it's a story by the Indy Star, and we know the Indy Star has done some exemplary work in exposing child trafficking, but this is an article that they're talking about that law, and it's Protecting Young Victims from Sexual Abuse and Safe Sport Authorization Act. Aims to fix a patchwork of state reporting rules by requiring any adults who interact with amateur athletes to report suspected child abuse, including sexual abuse, within 24 hours to local law enforcement. And that link will be in the show notes. And Rachel was talking about that. She's working on a story right now. She's on deadline, and she'll be done in about 2 weeks. And she didn't. I don't think she can get into specifics, but it's a similar topic. So,
well,
I imagine it involves amateur athletes, and So she was very, very sweet, and I think we might be able to get her on the show, and that's my aim anyway. So
shoot, man, these survivors, they're starting to stand up.
Yep.
God love them. God bless them.
Yeah. And
good thing.
I got a couple of things, and you guys just whenever you feel like, just interrupt me. But I just have it like a patchwork of things because I'm so I was in the weeds there. But the good rabbi, I also have a call into Rabbi Rosenberg, and he is a rabbi from Brooklyn, New York, who has exposed. Also in the show links, there's a great article that appeared in Vice about the rabbi and how. The battle he's fighting in Brooklyn to expose this, and there's another activist that has started a website, but the rabbi's website is on there, and there's a hotline. It is in Yiddish. I actually called, and I got to you throw some English in there, but there's actually another number on there. But his website is geared for the Orthodox community in Brooklyn, so naturally the hotline is in Yiddish. But so I listened to it for a while, which was kind of interesting. But I did also his personal cell phone number is on there. So I've contacted.
Alrighty then.
The good rabbi because I would love to get him on the show. Because they're just, they're standing up in their own community and they're pariahs in their own community for pointing, what horrendous things are going on, in their own religious community. And So that's good news. I mean, you've got people that are standing up to this shit, and they're fighting it. And we're networking with everybody. It's just
it's funny you bring that up because before Tuesday's show, Tuesday was Fat Tuesday, and I had started out, and just because it was Fat Tuesday, I was looking up a lot of articles on New Orleans, and I was telling Catherine that
he needed a therapist. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I found there were no shortage of child rape arrests in not just New Orleans but all over Louisiana. They were reported by I guess the online thing is called NOLA.com. I didn't have time to tweet all of them out. I tweeted a bunch out to like Pedogate News. But somewhere, and I was just thinking of other things. I was thinking of institutions, and I started, and somehow camps, overnight camps just, popped into my head. So I said, let me do some searches, and an article in the, it's called JewishWeek.timesofisrael.com. And they call it the New York Jewish Week. It's obviously an online Jewish newspaper. And the headline of the article is, if my computer will work, did Baltimore's Orthodox community turn a blind eye to child sex abuse? And basically this, he worked a guy, I don't know if he was a rabbi. Rabbi, his name, Shmuel Prawatsky. And he worked at a camp, and he was, I don't know, it was several children that he molested. I don't know the details of it, and so, but it was covered up, and I have the article here. He turned around and filed a $500 million defamation of character lawsuit.
The pedophile. Yeah, that's about typical. Yeah.
They don't have any problem doing that.
I can tweet the article. I can tweet the article to the Traffic report. But let me tell you something. The picture of this guy. I mean, it's another one of these things, and we don't want to stereotype because they come in all shapes and sizes. But let me tell you something. This guy, John. I'll tweet a Traffic report now, and you take a look at this guy and you let me know what you think.
And that's good. The religious communities are waking up, and my suggestion to the Catholic Church is give up child rape for Lent. Never mind about the meat.
Right.
Did you steal my tweet? Wait a second. I was tweeting that out all day.
Well, see, me and you and Catherine, we're like this. We think the same way. So no, I didn't even see that. But
oh my gosh!
When you said Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday and everything, I said why don't they just give up child rape for Lent? As a start. You
didn't see any of my tweets? That was my actual tweet. And then I just posted article after article after article, which unfortunately, there's plenty of newer articles. There are still Catholic priests being arrested. There are still the Pope went to Chile to defend this guy. I mean, this stuff is everywhere.
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, people need to pay attention to this because this looks like how these assholes get out of their charges. But down in Australia, Cardinal Pell, number 3 at the Vatican, hundreds of kids raped in Australia. Hundreds. Okay, so they finally get the asshole to trial, and they've delayed it for so long, it dicked around for so long that one of the main witnesses in the trial just died of leukemia. There's a date coming up in March that was supposed to. It's a significant date. They call it. The court system is not like it is here. It's a different term, but it's some important part in the case where it goes ahead, or I just can't remember the term. But what they're saying is this witness dying could affect a committal hearing, March 5th. That's what it's called. Likely impact that. So Damian Dignan was the individual who died of leukemia, and this is in the the Catholic World Report of all things.
How long did they drag it out? Do you know?
For years. Well, Jesus, a lot of this stuff with him has been reported 20, 30 years ago. So
yeah.
You know, and believe me, the Vatican took as long as they could before they had to make this guy available for trial.
Right, of course.
The good guy, Pope Francis, the Jesuit. Okay, Jesuit. You can just interchange that with mafia. Okay, so this nice guy Pope from Argentina that was involved with the death squads and child trafficking and every other dirty thing, from South America is supposedly this good guy that's leading the Catholic Church. Horseshit. He's supporting pedophiles. He's going down to South America to do it. Howie just mentioned that, to Chile. But yeah, we need to keep an eye on this case in Australia, because with this witness dying.
If it's you bringing that up. There was I wouldn't say it was as big as Boston, but there was a large priest sexual abuse inquiry in Philadelphia, and the former Cardinal of Philadelphia, his name was Bellavacqua. I don't know if it was Joseph Bellavacqua. It might have been Joseph. Anyway, he had retired, and he was in his 80s. And when the case was coming, to trial, the church was fighting and saying that he was mentally incompetent, and Bellavacqua couldn't testify, and it went back and forth for quite some time, and I believe it was about a week before he was supposed to, and they said he could, and he was about to go testify. He passed away, and there wasn't a lot of pomp, and this was he was the Cardinal of Philadelphia, and there wasn't a lot of pomp and circumstance, and they got rid of the body, and it was just gone, and yeah.
Say, and
he might have preferred going to court.
Just saying. Well, I don't listen. I don't want to get too deep into a little bit of conspiracy tonight, but getting back, talking about Jerry Sandusky. Joe Paterno was coaching Penn State football in November of I guess it was 2011, before all this broke. Was not, the Sandusky thing came to light. Paterno was still coaching the team, didn't want to resign. They forced him out, and by January of the next year, it's 2012. So from November, he was dead. Paterno was dead, and he died of cancer in 2 years. Yeah. The man would have had the best treatments. And I said,
"Yeah, you would think, yeah."
And
boom, gone.
2 months, little over 2 months. His cancer took him out.
And do you think Joe knew everybody else that should have been charged in that case and wasn't?
I'm just going to come right out and say it. I don't think he died. I'm just going to come right out and say it, and that's my own personal opinion. And when 10 or 15,000 people lined up for his viewing, it was a closed casket. So, and
you think Joe's in South America with that Cardinal?
Listen, Joe didn't leave his house that much anyway. I don't know what happened. I'm just saying, I don't think Joe Paterno died. I mean, if he was coaching that year, they would have gone to a bowl game. A bowl game would have took him in at least mid-December, close to January. He died like the end of January. If he was so sick, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I've heard of it. But you could be right too. Stranger things have happened.
I got to read it because Catherine asked, how long did the Catholic Church drag its feet on this case in Australia? Well, he was accused as far back as 1961. Okay, listen to this. This asshole paper, that's obviously a Catholic paper that has to print this. It's called the Catholic World Report. Listen to what they put in the article here. This is very telling right here because they're talking about the death of this witness. Okay, so without the sworn testimony of Dignan in court, it is possible that the prosecutors could drop the case altogether. However, Victorian police did not confirm or deny the plausibility of this happening, especially because the prosecution could still use the sworn statements or evidence given under oath made before Dignan's death, in addition to up to 50 witnesses that are still expected to testify. So where in the fuck did they get the right to put in that article, it's possible that prosecutors could drop the case altogether without this one guy? Why is that in that article? Why is that line even there?
Oh, well, a lot of things are possible. Unicorn.
Yeah, the sun could not come up in the morning.
Right, exactly.
Scumbag.
We could all drive off the edge of the flat earth. That's what I keep saying. It's possible.
I keep watching that. Well, and my road is flat. I like it. I like flat roads.
But I mean, damn. I mean, I was harping a little bit on the Catholic Church. Not to say that they're the only ones doing this. I mean, we're gonna delve into Jewish religion. Obviously, the Church of England,
major problems.
3,300 cases. We've seen it in the Mormon Church. We've seen it
please, the Mormons are the kings of this. I mean, absolutely the kings. I mean, if you think if it's possible for a religion to be worse than the Catholic Church in raping kids, the Mormons have that hand in.
Well, are you talking about the main Mormon Church, or are you talking about the offshoots of the Mormon Church?
Both. It's institutional in the LDS, in the FLDS. That whole state is. Talk about a sewer. I mean, we need to do a Utah show.
All right.
My God.
Listen, we need to do a show on everything, and that's sort of like why we were doing this. It's like just like a recap of everywhere you look, and it's like, what do we have to do to get people to wake up to this realization? I mean, I don't know what it is anymore. I don't know what, because I mean, I've lived 46 years on this earth, 47 years on earth, not paying attention to this, not thinking about it, even though, it's all changed. I mean, I was in tune to, the Catholic Church abuses, but like these cases are not front page news. They're not on the world, they're not on television. But, our guest next week, she's going to say things that you can look for. And I used to say, people are always asking, like, what more can we do? And people need to pay attention in their own backyards. Like, it's time that we, for lack of a better term, up our game.
Can we do a show on my neighbor in my backyard, Howard? You know about my neighbor in my backyard. Can we do a show?
I can do one on my asshole.
Right.
I have a
right. Catherine had a situation that happened to be next door where she's seeing, odd things, and obviously a little more in tune. But I mean, it doesn't matter if you're somewhere and you see something that seems off.
It is. Yeah. Trust your eyes.
And I'm not saying, start breaking down doors and guns a blazing, but, just observe. Watch dynamics.
Pay attention.
Yeah. Take notes. Take pictures.
I think we've clearly established that
honestly, I have notes and pictures on my neighbors.
No child should be left alone. You cannot, wherever they are, if whether it's organized athletics, whether it's school activities.
Yeah,
you cannot take your eyes off your children at this point. You just can't.
No matter how wonderful the teacher, we're seeing it with music teachers and dance teachers and karate instructors. It doesn't, and football. It does not matter. And even if you don't, want to keep your eyes open, for what's going on around. If there's anyone listening that has children, please, please.
Not only watch your own children, but watch the friends of your children, because I can look at the kids in school and I can start picking them off right and left. I can tell you who it is. Their eyes are dead. They do not have the sparkle and the shine that the other kids have. So, and usually they're not kept very well. Yeah. They're not bathed very well.
Well, you turn me on that and that term. Why don't you the dead eyes?
Right, the dead eyes. Well, they just don't have the sparkle in their eyes that other kids do. I have a.
It's a little bit stronger than that. You can look, dark circles. Look like tired, and there's just something. There, what you.
Yeah.
You kind of know when you see it, and that's I don't know. I don't know where the term "dead eyes" came from, but you were probably the first person to explain that to me, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, and then you start seeing it, and it's like, oh okay.
Well, the young girl, like say the 13 or 14-year-old that's wearing very hard makeup. That's an indicator too. I've seen that a lot. Wearing, like the black eyeliner, it's too much for a girl of 12 or 13.
Okay.
So it's like
pay attention, for God's sake. And do. And they are we when we're and our heads are buried up to our eyeballs in this all the time, but when you step back, progress is being made on an individual level. People are talking more about this on a national level. Our president is behind doing something about that, and has not just said he's signed executive orders to that fact. Law enforcement is doing more than they ever have done.
That's for sure.
And we still and you can't sit back. I want
to say this real quick if I could. Mm-hmm. It's really important for us to support our president. It's very important. We need to show a huge presence on his Twitter and Facebook, and it does make a difference. And if somehow or another they manage to take President Trump out, where would we be? Because there's no way that Mike Pence is going to, stand up the way that Trump has. The changes that need to be made could not be made.
That's scary. That's a scary thought.
So,
but absolutely. Because that's the only president that has addressed this at all, ever.
Well, tag him on everything. Tell him what a good job he's doing, because they look. And so I do it on a daily basis. I try to tweet him, several times a day.
And I want to get some people, and we got Rachel coming on, but the child athletic thing. I'm going to take that article that she wrote and print it out, and I'm going down to our local YMCA here and ask to speak to their director, the highest person I can talk to in there. And I want to put that on their desk so they know at least one person in this area knows what the hell's going on, and they're involved in it. do something like that. I mean, how are you a member? Are you a member of the Y? Are you, do
your kids take karate?
Any of these, do one thing. How hard is that? Is that worth an hour of your time? Is it worth a couple of phone calls? Of course it is. So
is it worth the child's life?
I was just as you said that, if you let's say you were signing your kid up for whatever class, a dance class or something, and you go in, you're going through the thing, and you could just be sitting there and just have an article and say, "Oh, did you hear the story of a dance teacher that blah 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 blah? Wasn't that awful? Boy, I'll tell you, if anything like that ever happened to my kid, and just drop, you can drop like that subtle little, hey, I'm aware, I'm in tune to what's going, I'm in tune to what's going on.
Yeah, we've got this beautiful facility. I'm sure they're in all towns. They're building. They're making it bigger. I go down there to exercise, and I walk by that nursery, and the thought I always have is there one parent that knows anything about this that comes over and puts their kids in this nursery? Do they know who's working in there? Do they know who's coaching here? Do they it's
That's why the camp. That's why the over. And I'm going to look into it deeper. But that's why the overnight camp thing, popped into my head, because they'll just hire anybody, and just because somebody passes a background check, it doesn't mean anything. It just means they haven't been convicted of anything.
They haven't been caught.
Yeah. Right, and you're saying
statistically, a person does something 7 times before they get caught. That's just
right.
Statistic.
Okay. Right. Well, and it could be, it could be a lot.
I got two to go then.
Right.
I got two to give.
I'll give you a quick story. I went to overnight camp as a kid, and we had counselors that would make all the kids in the bunk hold one kid down, and the counselors would hit him in the leg. I forget what they would call it, like camp. I think they called them camper crampers. So and it was like this thing, and like they would.
It sounds
hold,
like you have some sort of masochist or some sadist working there.
Yeah, and it was just sort of like a thing that happened. There was nothing sexual about it. It was just they would hold you down and they would hit you in the leg and they'd bruise your leg.
Well, just because they didn't have sex doesn't mean it wasn't sexual, Howard.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying.
It sounds totally sexual to me. I'm just saying.
Well, it was abusive and it was way out of line. So I remember coming home, and it happened to me like it happened to me towards the end, and I told my mom, is like, oh yeah, I sort of said it like, like as an afterthought type of thing, or how was camp, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of remember this, and when I told her, like the counselors did this thing, and she lost her mind, and I was like, oh, I guess this is serious, and they weren't
good
like
for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was the worst thing that ever happened. I'm not. I'm sorry.
Camper cramper. All right. Stay tuned. Next week. Big. Inside of Pedophile Network. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Howie.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Tuesday.